What did you think? We all waited and waited and waited. What did you think about The Irishman?
Tremendous.
From beginning to end, what did you think?
Well, the first time I saw it,
When did you see it?
I saw it a little after it came out.
In the movie theater?
In the movie theater.
Where at?
I went to see it in Westwood.
Okay.
Was in the balcony with my wife, and I just, the first time you watch something, you're so excited, just anticipating seeing all these giants. What is the CGI going to look like? And then at the beginning, it was a little weird, with some of the stuff with them getting younger and a little hokey. But after a while, you just kind of surrender and just watch the work, But I thought the movie was a little slow moving, but it didn't bother me at all because the work was so good that I wanted to see it again to see if I liked it as much or I liked it less. But the second time it went faster. A lot went to the same theater, and I even liked it better. I even liked it a lot better. I think some of the scenes in the movie are fantastic. There's some great, great scenes in the movie. The scene between Joe Pesci and Pacino is an incredible scene. That scene is so good. I mean, Al, he's got so much fire for like a 70-something. It's incredible how good he is still, And Joe, he doesn't have a false moment in the movie. He's like, you watch him and he's there every second of the movie. He's so good. People forget how good Joe Pesci is.
I forgot how good he was.
Go back and watch Raging Bull, and you watch him.
No, don't watch.
No, I'm just saying.
Watch Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, but if you watch Raging Bull, he's, Goodfellas, Casino is more flashy, Joe Pesci. But if you watch him, and as great as De Niro is in Raging Bull, Pesci is as good. I mean, he's right, and that's De Niro in his prime, in his fucking prime. Obviously, and they love each other, and you can see that. And then you see that with De Niro and Pacino, that they really enjoy being together. You watch those scenes, and there's a real love affair between the two of them, which, you never would have known that. You would have thought, well, maybe those guys would be more competitive with each other, but they're not. They're not at all. They complement each other. I love the scene when he goes, you can't talk to me like that. You called me a motherfucker. And he goes, no, not you. It doesn't apply to you, It wasn't you. He goes, but I was standing right there. He goes, no, I would never say that to you. It was so sweet, Come on, come back in. Come on, Frank. That was really, really a terrific moment. There's so many great moments in the movie. I mean, you have to overlook. I mean, in the perfect world, they should have made this movie 15 years ago. They really should have made the movie when they were younger. But it doesn't, there are some people that are not crazy about it. There are some people that I've heard that thought, well, it's the same old thing. And, it was, I didn't believe some of the CGI. There was a couple of things. I think the voiceover I could have done with a little less voiceover. I don't think I need...
It's Scorsese style.
But that's the style that they do now.
That he does.
That's what they're doing now. They develop something that works, and it really doesn't bother me that much. I mean, there are some things I don't need explained to me, but you're right. That's the style that they have.
What you have to remember one thing, again, Nick. You're a student of the 70s. You're very lucky, like I'm very lucky. We got to see some of the greatest motion pictures of our time.
Right.
70s. There's not a lot of...
Can't beat it.
Just 73 alone. Just the talent. Just from 71 to 73 between the French
Godfather,
Connection. French Connection.
Yeah.
He was a fourth choice. Gene Hackman was a fourth choice. And he ended up winning an Academy Award. Freaking directed that. And he ended up directing The Exorcist. We've seen all this great work. The problem I feel today, which I know I feel today, I never want to sound like two things in my life. A typical New Yorker. I've lived here for 22 years. There's no bagels. Get a grip of your life, okay? Get a grip. And number two, I don't want to sound like the old guy that things were better back then. The problem was we got exposed to something that was so strong. I anticipated waiting for Goodfellas. I was in a halfway house when Goodfellas came out. And I knew a year before the movie got released that it was coming out. I read the book. I read the fucking book. I saw an interview on 2020 and I read the book. You know, we're living in an age right now of mediocrity.
Yeah.
Movies, you go see a movie, you're excited, it's a 4. By the time you get to the car, you've forgotten what that movie's even about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've forgotten what it's about. I've been told about movies that were great the last 2 years that I've watched and said, I don't know what the fuck people are talking about.
Right.
They're an okay movie. This movie would do okay in 1970. Right. But would people go home and talk about it? No. So we have to, when you and I watch a movie, not to mention we grew up, these kids today don't know who Jimmy Hoffa is.
No.
They barely knew who he was when I was growing up, when I grew up in the 70s.
Right.
So, there were so many things that went into this movie. You know, you have the internet, which wasn't around when The Godfather was around, so they couldn't. I didn't read any of the reviews. I don't really give a fuck about reviews.
What are reviews anyway?
My ass with
That's
reviews.
what they are.
The only review I care about is my review and what I get out of paying the $10 for the movie theater. That's the only review I give a fuck. In today's world, I could watch a trailer and tell you if that's the movie. You ever watch a trailer, you get excited, and you go, that's the movie.
You would like to think, but sometimes they're deceiving. You can have a great trailer and not such a great movie.
What has happened in today's world is we don't have time for great acting anymore. The kid from The Hurt Locker won an Academy Award for acting. He's a great guy and he's a good actor. But 20 years ago, they wouldn't let him in the fucking door. Okay. The guy from The Hurt Locker is a great actor.
Yeah. What are you talking about, Renner?
Yeah, but he's not an Academy Award actor. Not by any means at all.
These guys
There's 2 or 3
These guys, they're not of that caliber.
We have Lawrence Fishburne. We have Denzel.
You got Denzel.
We got the fucking Mormon, the Scientologist. Cruz, who does, he's worth every dollar they give him.
He's a movie star.
I watch every movie he watches.
And he's entertaining.
We got my man Pitt. We got Leonardo DiCaprio.
Those guys.
I did not watch the movie
those guys
with Quentin Tarantino.
They're terrific in the movie.
I refuse to watch that shit. And nobody's going to put Bruce Lee down to me in a movie. So I even refused to watch it on JetBlue Mint this week. That was the featured movie. I watched The Irishman. I don't watch that shit.
Have you seen The Irishman on the big screen?
No.
Oh, you should. You should see it on the big screen.
No, I know I should see it. I'll go see it. I'll go watch it.
Because it deserves a look on the big screen.
I watched it 3 times. I watched it. Huh?
You watched it 3 times?
I watched it the night it came out till 2 in the morning. I don't fuck around, me. I give respect when respect is deserved. Okay? I watched it till 2 in the morning. I fell asleep. Obviously, I was tired. I'm on the pain pills and the muscle relaxers for my leg.
Right.
And then I watched it on the plane on the way to Miami that night, and then on Fort Lauderdale, and then I watched it in the hotel over the weekend because I really wanted to watch it from a different perspective. I was going to be up. I'm on East Coast time. When I'm on the road, I'm on East Coast time. So I'm not going to go to bed till 3 anyway.
Now, it's a treat to see these guys. It's a treat to see how good they are. And even like De Niro's character, you don't always appreciate, because he kind of like takes a little bit of a back seat to Joe and Al a little bit. But yet, as the more you watch him, the more you could appreciate all the little subtleties, the nuances that Bob does, because he just grows on you. De Niro comes on like he's not as, Al's a little more, he's bigger. He's bigger. He's more grand and Joe. But Bob is like, Bob is in the, he has a part that's almost, because he's playing a couple of different, sides in the movie. So, but he's really, really good too.
Joe Pesci stole my heart in this movie.
Joe?
The last time he acted this good was at the end of Bronx Tale. He played the same character as the end of Bronx Tale. The end of Bronx Tale, when he goes into, he only has one scene, 2 scenes in Bronx Tale. But the end of Bronx Tale, it shows his warm side.
Right.
And in this movie, it showed that. He was phenomenal. I don't care about CGI. I don't care about
No, he's great.
He was phenomenal.
He's really great in it.
The kid that you mentioned, I watched it after you mentioned
it. Kid Stephen Graham is tremendous.
He was great.
He's tremendous. His face, he's a bona fide, really good actor.
Now,
really good.
Let's get to something.
The 2 scenes he had with Al?
Yeah. Oh, no,
wow.
He was phenomenal.
Those are great scenes.
He was phenomenal. His office was in Union City, New Jersey. So when I was a kid.
Tony Pro?
Yeah.
The real Tony Pro.
I heard about him. Yeah,
you did?
That's why they always said that he was buried at the Meadowlands. Mm-hmm. That's why they always said he was buried at the Meadowlands, because
Right.
Tony Pro had an office in Union City, but he also ran out of Bayonne. Whenever you go to White Manor Burger, there's a picture of Tony Pro and shit. So that's why they always thought he was buried in Giant. That was what I wanted to watch the movie for, to see where this motherfucker really ended up. Did you read the original I Paint Houses or no?
I'm reading it now.
Is that the original?
That's the book. They named it, The Irishman. But it's actually called,
I Paint Houses.
I Paint Houses.
Whatever. I never
Right.
read the I Paint
No,
Houses.
I'm reading it now, and I mean, it's pretty much the guy's interviewing the guy, and he's telling him all these stories. And I've heard different things. Some people saying they feel like some of it is accurate, and some of it might not be. But listen, they told a story from the book, from this guy's perspective. Do you believe it or you don't? It's up to you. I don't. I mean, for me, I try to believe the movie. Is the movie believable? And seeing what the guy spent his life around these guys, it is somewhat believable. It is. I mean, I don't know if he killed Joe Gallo, but Joe Gallo was killed. I remember because I was obsessed with Crazy Joe. I wanted to make like a mini series out of him. There was a wild movie in the 70s that you can't even find it. It wasn't a great movie.
What was the name of it?
It was called Crazy Joe.
Crazy
but
Joe.
it was Dino De Laurentiis used to make these like cheap mafia movies. And he made a movie, and the guy's a great actor, but he was kind of too big to play Joey Gallo. Was Peter Boyle. But if you remember Channel 9, the $1 Million Movie, they used to play these movies. He made the movie Joe, which was that crazy guy who murdered him. And then he made Crazy Joe. But Joe was a really good movie, disturbing. And if you remember Joe, they shot all the hippies in that movie. And the guy was looking for his daughter, Susan Sarandon. Have you ever seen Joe?
No. What's Joe about?
Well, Joe is like a guy who's like a Archie Bunker guy. He hates hippies. He hates this. He hates that. Then he meets this businessman, and he's looking for his daughter, and she's a drug addict. And he's like, we should go find her. We should go find her. We should shoot all these fucking hippies, all these, love child people. And the businessman likes this guy. He drinks beer. He lives in he's like one of these like piece of Americana, blue collar, crazy guy who has all these nutty ideas, but he actually gets the guy revved up. He's like a businessman. They got shotguns. I don't want to give it away, and then he goes out and then they like start shooting up like all these druggies.
Now, the Crazy Joe movie.
Now, Crazy Joe was about Crazy Joe Gallo.
Okay, and that was made by Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah, it wasn't.
What year about?
In the 70s, probably early 70s or late 60s.
Now, wasn't the gang that didn't shoot straight about Joe Gallo?
The gang that couldn't shoot straight, was supposedly based on, some of those guys. Yeah, I think it was based on, Jimmy Breslin wrote it, and Jimmy Breslin was the great columnist of New York City, him and Pete Hamill, but that was a book that he wrote. And actually, De Niro plays a goofy. I've never seen the movie.
I remember.
You can find it.
But I know that our boy from Law and Order's
Jerry Orbach's
in it. And
now, Joey Gallo was hanging out with Jerry Orbach.
Right.
Joe Gallo started hanging out with all these movie stars. He started hanging out with artists. He thought of himself as an artist too. He was a really psychopathic guy. And then he was running around with, all kinds of people. He got out of jail and he was, he went against all these guys. Apparently he did the barbershop murders, the Anastasia, when those guys got blown away. It was Gallo and his brothers.
And then they sent the black guy to shoot, what's his name? Columbo, so
they sent the black guy, right.
The guy had mental health issues. They could never trace him back to Joe.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when they're like, who would have the audacity to shoot something like that? And by myself, I go, Sebastian. And all of a sudden, Sebastian walks in the room and I start laughing my fucking ass off.
That's a crazy role. I don't know if he knows how crazy that guy was. A really psychopathic guy. Really, you look at him, you look at his eyes, you could see how like nutty he was. But the interesting thing was that he thought he was like, he thought he was more of he used to paint. I don't know. He had some girlfriend that was like one of these like, artistic girls. So he was running with that whole crowd. But then, he stepped on too many toes. I mean, him and his brother.
Once you shoot somebody, the boss of the family in the head,
yeah,
and they knew exactly who the fuck it was. they sent, like I said, I remember reading up about it. The black guy had mental health issues. He wasn't, they couldn't trace him back to Joe at all.
Right.
But when Joe went to prison, he hung out with the brothers in prison, so they kind of had an idea, you know. I don't even know if it went down the way it went down in the movie. I don't know. I
mean, I don't even know. I mean, they had Frank Sheeran shoot Joey Gallo, and that, you know, I know he got blasted in Umberto's because my dad used to love mafia murders, and he was always like, he got blasted when he was eating spaghetti. You know, he loved that. All these guys, always when they were eating food, some of them notoriously got blasted.
I thought, for me, I know somebody got killed at the clam broth house in Hoboken. But then I went home and looked it up. I know that Crazy Joe went to the clam broth house in Hoboken with Jerry Orwell.
Yeah, but he got killed on Mulberry Street.
Right.
Yeah.
No. At first, you know, when I'm watching this movie at first, it's shit that I heard growing up.
Right.
It was little things I heard growing up.
I never heard of Frank Sheeran. So
I never heard of Frank Sheeran. I heard of Tony Pro.
Right, Tony Pro I've heard of.
Tony Pro was. When I was a kid, my mother's bookmaking operation was on 118th between 3rd and 4th by La Marqueta, the Puerto Rican with the trains on top.
Right.
So once a week we had to go to, I never went. They called them Los Italianos.
Los Italianos?
They would go pay a vig over to Fat Tony.
Right.
Because Fat Tony was right in East
That's
Harlem.
Fat Tony Salerno?
Right in this fucking 115th Street was a social club, the Palermo Boys Club or something like that. And I still remember being a kid and walking across the street. Like they would say, don't walk on that side, no specs allowed. So I would walk across the street and just walk past, and you could smell like Italian cheese at a deli on the corner. Right. I'm talking about 1970s, guys.
Yeah.
You know, the last time I went over there, last time I was on 118th was 1980. That's when I used to run with the Puerto Ricans, running numbers over there. But I knew the whole area was controlled by Tony. Then Fucko got into it. And that's when the problem started. American Gangster.
Oh.
He started.
You're talking about the guy in Harlem.
Because he wanted black numbers.
Right.
Because the Guineas had their numbers. The Cubans had La Bolita.
La Bolita.
That's what it's called, the Bolita. So it's numbers. It's a parimutuel.
Right.
Guineas play numbers too. Not as concentrated as the Spics, because the Spics...
They used to have them on the paper, right?
Right.
Write them on a piece of paper.
Not even. You walk into the bodega.
Right,
you put $6.14, $5. You give the guy $5. He gives you a piece of paper. He keeps a piece of paper, and upstairs gets a piece of paper.
You're talking about Nicky Barnes.
Nicky Barnes.
Yeah.
The other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Nicky Barnes. I'm correct.
I think Nicky Barnes might have been in jail with Joey Gallo.
Yeah, something. Because the first thing that started all that heroin was the Purple Gang. That's what people don't understand. There's a book called, I got it at the house, Felipe gave it to me.
You got to think of New York at that time. Right? It's wild. New York then in the 70s, and Nicky Barnes, and the New York we remember, and Joey Gallo. I mean, it's a crazy, crazy time. Really.
This is way before Gotti.
Yeah, this is way before Gotti, Sammy the Bull. This is different.
When I was a kid, it was completely different. It was fucking completely different. Then my mom had a dry cleaning in the Bronx. And that, too, was close to a social club. I still remember, like, the kids in the neighborhood going, if you go over there, they give you jobs.
Right.
Like, pick this paper up or whatever. I never went over there. I was like a scared fucking kid. I was fresh out of Cuba. But it's so weird to show Fat Tony and how big of a presence he was in it. You know, like I never knew that fucking he got a pardon from Nixon. You know,
with Hoffa? Yeah, because he gave them money. He gave them money.
It's so weird how all the Scorsese's movies connect, and I don't mind that.
No, not at all.
Come and tell me, well, if you watch Casino, it was the skim from Vegas, and they talked about the Teamsters lending them money.
Right.
In Casino. So now you get the other perspective from how Hoffa was cutting those loans out.
Right.
What they didn't tell you in Casino. They
didn't tell you that.
Right.
They just told you, you know, they mentioned the Teamsters, but they never mentioned, you know, that he was, you know, behind it or part of it.
I enjoyed The Irishman. Like, we had Jordan whatever here 2 months ago, and he was the guy from
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. And
Right.
it's weird because when I watched Wolf of Wall Street, I enjoyed it.
No, it's enjoyable.
But I could tell already it was a Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
And it was being done a certain way. When I saw this, I enjoyed this movie. Let's get it out of the way right now. If you want to attack me online and say I'm an idiot, I don't give a fuck when everybody says. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great movie. And the key word here, it was the first time I seen acting
Yeah.
in a long fucking time. Acting is becoming a fucking dinosaur
Right.
over tattoos and little hats and fucking gold earrings, and you gotta be gay, or I gotta hire diversity, I gotta hire black for that role. It's eating away from acting. That's what I enjoyed about, there's certain movies you watch, it's got a good plot, it's got a good whatever, but the acting.
The acting is terrific.
Something about the
Right.
acting. When I watched What's Love Got to Do With It, and then I watched King of New York, I focus on Lawrence Fishburne. He plays two different types of Moulin Yan. Still a Moulin Yan. Two different types of Moulin Yan.
But you can separate them.
But you could separate
Yeah.
them. I look at that. It's great to see those type of movies again. When I looked at, what's the baseball movie with Brad Pitt?
Moneyball.
Love that movie.
It's a good movie.
I think Brad Pitt should have won the Academy Award.
I think Brad Pitt is he's kind of underrated.
Really underrated.
He's a better, and he shows it in this. I know you don't want to see the movie, but he's so wonderful in this movie. I mean, Leo's great, and Leo is terrific, but Brad almost steals the movie. He actually, there's something about him in this movie that you go, I like this dude, man. I really like him.
I've always loved Brad Pitt.
Yeah. I mean, he's really good in this movie.
The Fall, whatever that movie he made, The Fall.
Yeah.
All those movies.
He's always been good.
I love him.
He's always been good.
I love him in the Ocean's 11 movie.
And like I said, he's a better character actor, but because they've made him a movie star, you sometimes forget he's still a good actor. Sometimes they make a guy a movie star. You know what I mean? Like Tom Cruise. They made him a movie star. But Tom Cruise is a good actor. He's not just a movie. There are some movie stars that can't act. He can actually act, Tom Cruise. And Brad Pitt, too, in my book. You know what I mean? Some guys, they're just kind of stars.